In the last few decades, all Western countries have faced a constant increase in their aging population, yet this increment has not been homogeneous. Italy is the oldest country among them, with 23% in the ratio of the population aged 65 and over in 2020. The ratio is 23% in Lombardy the same year and 22% in the city of Milan. Even as one of the relatively young cities, Milan's aging population grows along with the total population. Due to the fact that in Italian families now the two parents work and no one can take care of the elders, more and more families choose to hire a person to do this. A widespread care market has developed. Combining with a large group of immigrants looking for jobs, the responsibility to help old people relied on a model based on the employment of immigrants. Because the demand of caregiver is increased, the number of institutions and agencies that help families to meet their needs is increased too.
Stavo in una casa, sai che io non avevo altre alternative, non avevo documenti, dovevo stare in una casa.
This attracts a lot of immigrants looking for a job to maintain their families. In 2020, almost 83% of all the caregivers in Italy are foreigners. According to Domina and EMPS data, the most come from East Europe, South America, Africa and the Philippines. More specifically, 100,000 of them come from Romania, 60,000 from Ukraine and 23,000 from Moldova. According to data, most of the caregivers are middle-aged women. In Lombardy, half of the caregivers are concentrated in the province of Milan. The city offers more job opportunities due to its size, the population, and the more cosmopolitan nature. Among the issues they may face, housing is the first and the most essential. It cannot be ignored. Due to its informality, caregivers' housing is vulnerable. It refers to two categories, from housing and through housing. They are at risk of losing the place to live anytime if they lose the job. For caregivers, their work is the only source of income. It is also the requirement for renewing their residence permit and their main housing reference. Caregivers who have a contract can receive financial compensation, or enough time to move out when their contract is ended. This gives them the ability to resist the risk of losing their place of residence. In the last decade, the number of caregivers with a contract has increased from 44,000 to 70,000. However, almost half of the caregivers do not have a contract. In absence of a contract, they may face a variety of unemployment irregularities. Without a contract, their rights, the job stability, and the housing conditions cannot be guaranteed. The house is temporary. There may be a sudden loss of accommodation due to the death or the hospitalization of the elder.
Una famiglia mi ha buttato fuori da casa alle 11 di notte. Per fortuna sapevo un'amica, dopo quell'amica sapevo un'altra amica, insomma ho trovato dove stare. Quella notte per me era tremendo.
To maintain their job, caregivers need to ensure the health condition of the elder and build a good relationship with the employers. This and an unstable economic situation force them to give up their free time and holidays. Because they live with their employers, they need to keep an eye on them at all times. Failure to take the employer's needs seriously, even during non-working hours, can cause them to lose the job. Without a contract, they lose the right to medical insurance, qualify for the Italian pension, and to unemployment benefits. If they are not compensated after losing their job, it will increase the risk of not having a place to live until they will find the next one. When caregivers are dismissed without legal protection, they will face the different situations. The family may give them 1 week to live, or allow them to live there until they find another employer. In the worst scenario, they are forced to leave immediately. Some of them choose to go to the dormitory at Caritas to sleep for free.
Sono stata poco senza lavoro, per dire che sono stata in strada. Allora magari è stata una questione di una settimana, allora qualche amica mi ha ospitato.
Even if they keep the place to live, there is still the possibility that housing does not solve anymore a function of protection and integration. If caregivers want to maintain their jobs, most of the times they need to bear the bad moods of employers, the lack of respect, and even harmful habits, such as throwing objects. About 68% of the interviewed caregivers of a research said that they continue to work despite they are tired or sick. Domestic work is hard both on a physical and a psychological level.
He trabajado en una casa donde el señor se quería sobrepasar conmigo y entonces tuve que dejar el trabajo porque yo no tenía documentos. ¿Cómo me defendía? Porque yo juraba a su mole de Luis y Luis me decía, si tú no voy a estar con mi piamasto, te meto en la cantina, oye, tanti cosa me tanti cosa.
Se te hacía chantaje.
Espaventaba.
In addition, uncontrollable housing conditions bring safety issues.
Sí. Solo tuve una mala experiencia y lo dejé después de un mes el trabajo. Trabajaba en una granja, la señora estaba muy mal físicamente, había ratones en la casa y era muy grande y no podía con los ratones. Pero todo lo demás siempre me he sentido segura y bien.
Living condition and privacy level of caregivers depend on the socioeconomic condition of the older person receiving care. Some of them have to sleep in the living room or in the same room with the elder, so they don't have any personal space. Many caregivers have a room at their disposal, but the level of privacy is limited anyway.
Magari quando stava male, però di solito più o meno avevano tutti la stanza, dovevano darmi una stanza privata mia. Sí, una vez llevé, sí me hizo llorar bastante, que llevé mi pollo a la brasa que compré en el mercado y con qué gusto voy a comerlo. Y me dijo, este chifeta no se mangia qua, el cavolo mío no, vai a mangiarlo nel parco, no lo so io.
According to CCNL, regulated caregivers can access to services such as permits for course trainings and are entitled of rights like the minimum salary suitable, accommodation and food. When caregivers get sick, they also have the right to keep their place for the period of illness. Sickness allowance is paid by employers and limited to a maximum of 15 days. Studies brought out that caregivers are more likely to be exposed to the COVID-19 since they live with elder and frail people. Therefore, it was obvious that in 2021 the average absence days due to illness are increased.
Me contagié por ir, lógicamente que me contagié por ir. Tuve el COVID porque el señor era positivo y yo continuaba a ir a trabajar normal y me contagié de COVID. Una vez me sentí decir, estás mal, entonces te saco un día de la feria, pero no tendría que ser así porque yo tuviera que estar, si estoy en regla, estoy con los documentos, o sea, mi malatía me corresponde.
Caregivers are often isolated from the rest of the community, as a result of care workers being expected to be on duty 24 hours a day. This can cause them to be detached from the society, as they have little free time for themselves, and their employer's condition does not allow them to be left alone. Their outings are limited. The purpose of going out is mostly to purchase food and to accompany the elderly.
Yo donde trabajaba era 45 minutos de Milano en tren, quindi quando era mi libre yo me iba hacia Milano. no se podía ir porque viernes había mercado acá, que es más cerca, donde trabajaba, y tampoco, no, yo no salía prácticamente para nada, y en el tiempo que me agarró el COVID trabajé 4 meses sin salir, sin ir a la panadería, era algo.
In summary, caregivers without contracts have a higher probability of facing irregularities in employment, including a temporary nature of the job, working overtime, and lack of employment protection. As a result, they are at risk of losing the place to live when they lose the job. Even if they keep the place to live, caregivers still have the possibility to face the following problems. First, the safety issue brought by the elderly, the heavy workload, and the uncontrollable housing conditions. Second, inadequate living conditions with a low level of privacy and differences in living habits. Third, inadequate services and welfare, or lack of access to them. And last, lack of connection with the neighborhood, which can cause social segregation. As a result, housing does not solve any moral function of protection and integration. Even with housing vulnerabilities, many migrants still choose this job because it provides them the condition to survive in a foreign country, as well housing and economic benefits.
Io ho scelto questa perché a me fa soddisfazione personale aiutando le persone. Io ricevo tanti grazie, tanti. Allora, io ho scelto questa, io sono adatta a questa. Comunque io mi sento utile